All right, so we actually had a little issue on this quad. This is a 2006 Kawasaki Brute 4750. As you can see, we have the battery unhooked. What happened was the other day when we got a bunch of snow, the owner of this wanted to plow. He plowed 2 driveways, and then all of a sudden the quad completely shut off. And he had no idea why. None of the gauges worked up top up here, nothing. And I actually hooked up these 2 little headlights just so he could see over top his blade. And that was wired up directly basically to the battery here with the little inline fuse and stuff. So either way, what happened was I told him, I was like, well, just hook my lights up, see if my lights work. And they didn't. They didn't even light up. And I was like, what in the world? I don't know, I'm not sure. He said this battery was hot on one side, the other side was cold. I was like, well, maybe your battery just fried. I'm not really sure. So what he did was he left it out because he was kind of stranded, left it out for a day or so, and then he was able to load it back up, and he put jumpers on it from his truck. He was able to get the fire back up, loaded it on a trailer, and brought it here. I checked it out. I unhooked the winch completely and just ran the power in the ground, just to get the quad to run. Ran fine, no issues. Hooked up my wire for my headlights, no issues again, no issues at all. I ran around, and then I was like, you know what? Let's check out the plow. I think there, maybe something's going on with the winch or something like that. I'm not really sure. Hooked the plow wiring up, and I actually plowed both my driveways. Had no issue whatsoever. But what we did do was it has this style, or it had this style on it, switch, and these are kind of a pain in the butt, and I didn't like it. And he's like, well, since we can't figure it out, why don't we just get a new one? And I was like, what kind? And he found this one at Tractor Supply. So it's got this nice little switch. So we're going to install this. But while I was removing this, we found why it had the electrical issue right here. Power and the ground. The way they ran it, it ran right above the exhaust, the front header. And you can't really see it, but up in there. And that's where the wire was ran, and it actually burnt through and grounded everything off. I don't know how nothing else broke on this quad. None of the fuses blew, nothing. All it did was kind of fried this battery. But now the battery works fine. So if you're going to get a battery, those like factory replacement ones, those are good. I don't know how it's still working, but it's working good now. So either way, so this is going to be a video on how to install one of these winch sets. Like I said, I haven't done one this style, so yeah, we'll try. We'll see what happens here. This is what we got in the kit. We have the switch in and out, and it's pretty darn long, so we can run it from the basically the front of the quad back to the back of it. That's where we're going to mount this guy. I'll show you where we're going to mount him. Actually, it's like the same, kind of the same design as on my Brute Force, so we're just going to kind of put it in the same area. Got a little bit of hardware. This is the mount for the handlebars with the switch, and then you got two sets of wires. This is the shorter set that I'm assuming is going to go to just the battery, and then this is the longer set that's going to run from the back of the quad all the way up to the front where the winch is. So, and then we got little covers here for the battery too, I'm guessing. So that's about it. It looks pretty self-explanatory. This just screws into this guy, and then it's got this wire. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to do a little research on this. It's a power wire, but it's something control electric, something, I don't know yet. We'll figure it out. But that's what we got. Let's start jumping into this thing. We're looking here at the relay, and as you can see, we have a M-, B+, B-, M+. So obviously you got your battery plus minus, positive and negative, and then you also have for your motor, your positive and your negative. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook this up. I need to go get mounts. That's one thing. I'm kind of surprised it didn't come with like U-bolts or anything for this. So I'm going to go get some U-bolts to mount this. But what we're going to do is kind of wire this up real quick, and then I'll explain where everything's going. All right, so this is kind of what we got going here. This is the way we have it wired up. And the ground, what we're doing, we're actually going to mount it right back here. Right on this guy. Right here. Because that's how mine is on my quad. It seems to work pretty darn good. And we're going to run the wires either this side or that side. Not sure yet, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to run the wires on one side or the other. And then, as you can see, we have battery positive. So that one's going to be going to the battery. It's right here. We got battery negative, B negative, also going to the battery. And then the other two are going up front. And then they got to come down into this guy right here. Whoa. There's your negative. Kind of marked it whenever I took the thing apart. And there's your positive on the bottom. That's the game plan. Like I said, we can't really actually mount it. Focus. Can't actually mount it yet because I got to go get like those U-bolts. But either way, you get the gist of it. Well, that didn't work. So we got to run it up front because in the back, the wires are too short. So whenever I run it, there's the winch, and I ran the wires the whole way back, and the wires would end up being right back here behind the filler neck. So we needed them back here. We got about a foot short. Don't want to mess with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to mount it right down in here. Let me see if I can get it on this side. On the little cross member with the holes in it. That's the game plan, at least. It's kind of hard to see from this side. But here, got a little piece of pipe. We're going to mount that to the frame. And then we have the wires running down to the winch itself. Then we have the other wires running down through to the intake by the clutch. And then we're going to hook it up to the battery. Basically, completely on the other side of the exhaust system. I don't want anything with the heat from that. Nothing to mess with. And then here is the switch itself, which we're going to run probably up on this side. Might have to move some stuff around because there's not a whole lot of room up here. We'll figure it out when we get to it. But what we want to do is just make sure everything works first before we start messing with it. And then we can tuck wires and hide stuff and do what we need to do. Okay, so we have it buttoned up a little bit, but we want to test it to make sure everything's good. So right now, this wire is not hooked up, in, out, nothing. Doesn't work. This is basically, excuse me, this is your 12 volts. So you can run it on your key on, and as long as you have 12 volts, it's going to run it. So what we're going to do is we're not going to run it very long because these winches put a lot of strain on your battery. So what we're going to do is just put it to 12 volts real quick. In, out. That's that. And again, you take it off, nothing. So what we're going to do is find a wire that has power whenever the key's on, and so he doesn't have to really worry about this. But you can, if you want, run it straight to your battery, put a fuse in it, I would, and then you can have it whenever. The quad doesn't need to be on if you do it that way, or you run it off a switch. Whatever you want to do. So we got the quad done. The winch and the wiring is all done. That's where I was able to get the switch put. This is kind of a pain in the butt to have everything up here. Not a whole lot of room to get the switch in, and with the choke cable and all that. The fuel injected ones you can put right underneath here. Either way, it's there. It's a lot easier than what it was. The power wire to run this, I actually ran it off this guy right here, the brown wire. You just tap into that, and that's 12 volts when you turn the key on. So once the key's on, we can show you, key on, in, out, there you go. You turn key off, nothing. So there's that, and I had to mount this up front here. It's really hard to see, but you can see there's the wiring zip tied up out of the way, not gonna hit the header at all. And there's the brain. It's on that little cross member there, or the relay, not the brain, but the relay. So there's that. We have on this side, you can see we got the cables and the covers on. Then we have a little piece of rubber pipe that run through, make sure we don't rub on anything, and then ran up the whole way up through. Just kind of have it tucked. It's not the best job in the entire world, but it'll get the job done. He needs his quad back, so we just want to get it done for him. If he wants to change it, we can do that down the road, but just to get it out of here. So that's about it. If you guys got any questions, comments, don't be afraid to ask. Leave them in the comment section. All right, guys. God bless.